Hello and welcome to another episode of ZenChats. I'm Zeneca and I'm here with the Hanuka brothers from the Moodies NFT Project. Tomer and Asaf, twin brothers who have a phenomenal history in art, design, creativity, comics, and now into NFTs. And we're going to get into a lot of interesting stuff that they're doing in the NFT space. They have a fantastic project, Moodies, as I mentioned. We'll get into their backstories and the mint and everything that happened. But before we do that, welcome, gentlemen. How are you both?
Thank you so much, Zeneca, for having
Great.
us. Yeah, very happy.
Yeah, I'm
Happy to
I'm
be
really
here.
happy to have you here, and I'm glad that you jumped on short notice because we were chatting before. Like the reveal of the Moodies has happened like 40 minutes ago. It just started, and I reached out maybe 3-4 days ago to see if we could set this up, and I'm really appreciative of you jumping on short notice to chat about things because it must be a crazy period for you right now.
Yes, but I have to say 4 days in NFT space, it's not that long. It's not that short. Pretty long.
It's not. It's not. It's a lifetime.
It's 7 years.
It really
Yeah.
is. So I'd love if you could give maybe a quick intro or like background origin story of your history, each of your histories prior to NFTs, what you've worked on, and then maybe like your entry into this whole NFT space. When did you first become aware of NFTs, and what was that introduction like? Maybe Tomer, if we start with you, and then Asaf afterwards.
Um, well, we grew up in Israel. That's kind of a footnote to the whole story because I think it's where we got kind of the bug of this type of art. Of it started with comics and comics in the 80s, and then it kind of matured into European kind of science fiction like Mobius and the Japan side of things with Akira and manga. And I think we wanted to escape the basic palette of Israel, which is yellow and hot, and it was a bit boring for us as kids who wanted like power fantasies, but they were very, very colorful and not generals, and an army. So being like addicted to that, collecting comics, and then basically there was like a separation because we grew up in the same bedroom, reading the same books. And then at some point, I moved to New York City and Asaf moved to Paris, and we both kind of got deep into a very specific niche inside that niche of illustration, comics, animation. So, I mean, there's like different aesthetics and different languages in that very, very big sphere. So just to wrap up, I mean, I've been working since about 2000. I graduated SVA, School of Visual Arts in New York in 2000. And I've been working a lot in publishing, in magazines. I've done book covers that were in the British Design Museum. I've done covers for the New Yorker magazine, for National Geographic, for Newsweek, for the New York Times. I worked really for every major publishing house. And then I think about 10 years ago, I started doing movie posters through Mondo, which is this place that does like alternative movie poster for cult movies. Like they buy the property rights and then they do something very artistic in silk screen. So it's all about like personal interpretation. And that kind of got me into working for movies in pre-production, in visual development, character design, art directing, animated features, which I do currently. Um, and and again, illustration here and there, but it's really mostly movies.
Fascinating. And Asaf, what have you been working on for the last 10, 20 years? And then, yeah.
I think mostly comics. I studied in Lyon in France, and then I moved to Paris, and I worked with a few French writers. And then I came back to Israel. And now I live in Israel since a few years, and I did books also with the Israeli writers. And eventually, I started working on my own stuff. So I started writing the stories myself. So I wasn't just doing the illustrations. And I did a series for 10 years, 12 years actually, that's called The Realist, which is an autobiographical comics. I did a page a week. And these pages were collected and published as a few books. In France, there are 4. In the United States, I think the 3rd one is coming out really soon. Maybe it's this month. And these were translated into 14 languages. And in recent years, I've been working with Italian writer Roberto Saviano, who wrote Gamora. And we did a book about his 15 years living undercover since he revealed the mafia in Napoli. So it's a little bit like
Wow.
a crime story, but from his own experience. It's pretty intense, and I love working on that.
I have to
I
add,
just
maybe go ahead.
No, about what Thomas said about our childhood. I think that being in Israel, reading American comics in the 80s, it was something that we couldn't really read because it was in English and we speak Hebrew. But I think that comics became the language. I mean, the drawings became stronger than words. And since then, at least I feel that I always try to convey a message or a feeling or an atmosphere. Like the most important thing in an image is that it has some kind of sense and impact, because for me, it's stronger than the words.
I wanted to add that like we had these 2 parallel, like we were writing 2 parallel lines, but these lines did intermix every few years. We did a project together. We put everything aside. And most recently, it was The Divine, which is a graphic novel we did together with a writer friend who's also actually helped us on the Moodies. And it won the International Manga Award. It was a New York Times bestseller. Was nominated for a Hugo, and eventually we optioned it to AMC Studios to be turned into like a live action series. After that, actually, the most recent one that we did together, an Attack of Titan story. I don't know if you're into that.
I have.
It's like a big manga.
Yeah. I've seen the Netflix. Well, I've seen it on Netflix, and I've actually played a board game, Attack of Titan, so I definitely know it.
Oh, I didn't know they have that.
Yeah.
Wow. Does it work as a board game?
It was really, honestly, I remember being really difficult. So the way it worked was you play with some friends, and you sort of like, it's a collaborative game, so you have to try and defeat the Titans. And it was really hard. We lost terribly. Yeah, I remember it was fun though. Yeah,
it's hilarious. So I think that was kind of a precursor, because we always look for opportunities and reasons to collaborate. And wow, Web3,
Yeah. So yeah, that brings us to Web3. So when, like timeline wise, when did you first become aware of Web3, blockchain, NFTs, and like what was that first introduction like? Did you have a friend that was into it, and how did you find out about all of this crazy world of NFTs?
I think it was about a year ago, and since both of us are in the showbiz industry in a way, I mean the industry where people are doing stuff in production, then obviously it's a cultural thing and people talked about it, and it was sort of far away. But then we started seeing images, and there was something about it that encapsulated in a way a lot of things we kind of loved in comics from the 80s, because there was something minimalist and there was this idea of a series, and for us it's like a new playground for storytelling in a way. And it seems for us that there's a lot of potential and stuff to do, but everything was so new. And it's like the first few days, I remember going on Spaces on Twitter and really not understanding anything. It was like a new language.
It's another language.
A new place, all these shortcuts like LFG and GM, even that. it's all this smaller.
100%. It's another. You need like a glossary, even like alpha. Like, what does alpha mean? And it's such a different world. Gas. People talk about gas,
But
and you're like, do I put it in my car? Is it what is this gas? And it's like, no. It's a different meaning.
I think that the fact that there is this certain vocabulary, what defines it as a new culture, a new thing, a new field that you need to come prepare. You need to know it in order to act in it. So that already is amazing, because it's like it's a new place, and it's always, I think, when you go into the unknown, you discover a lot of things about yourself, about your limits, about the fact that you can achieve certain things and you're going to fail in others. So it was very attracting, the fact that it was new and unknown.
Yeah.
I remember it was like maybe over a year ago, like going into spaces and speaking with a friend of mine, James Jean, who's really kind of always 5 step ahead of everything. And he was talking about kids minting, and just that word minting was kind of weird, kids minting images. And I think the first thing I noticed is that it was self-described as a space, as opposed to like the art world, you call it a studio, and the image of a studio, kind of the element, the object or the subject is a model. And in the space, the subject was always an astronaut. So I was like, is there a place for me in this astronaut universe, who's very has a very a specific aesthetic, but I think once you go past the aesthetic and then you see like the variety and you realize there's a real paradigm shift that as opposed to other industries we've been very active in, here suddenly the power is at the hands of the artists. Like the creators, the founders can be artists. It's not a businessman that hires an artist. I mean, sometimes it is, and that's also okay. And I worked on amazing franchises, very proud of it. But here there was a chance to kind of flip the pyramid on its head. And that was very exciting.
Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful parts about this space. It's that creator economy, they call it. It shifts that power dynamic and gives the optionality and ability for creators to interact directly with their fans, with their collectors, with rather than going through middle people and distribution centers and marketing and all that. It's like you can have that one-to-one relationship, which is magical, honestly. And it's one of the most beautiful parts. When did you have the idea for Moodies? Or like when did you know from like really early on, oh, this is something cool, like we want to do our own project? Or was it after a while? And then, when did the idea for Moodies come about and how did that happen?
We knew instantly that if we make something, it has to have a meaning and make sense. And it has to work in a way that we kind of, there's a lot about losing control, because you give control to the gen art engine and your drawings are going to be mixed. But we wanted to have control in the fact that we do something that we believe in and that makes sense. So we looked for something that could work in the structure of this space, meaning something that will talk about the profile, but will also kind of work when you take it apart and reassemble it. And I think that in our work, both of us worked a lot in illustration, editorials. You have this one big idea. It means that the image needs to get across an idea instantly. So there's a lot of symbolism and use of, it's called pop surrealism. It's like a little bit of objects that are not in the natural place. So I think we bought a lot from that language of using visual metaphors. And since the subject is the face, because it's a profile picture, we knew that there's not going to be a face. And then we started thinking about the outside and the inside. And I think it just kind of developed a lot of sketches. I think 3 months only just to make sketches and realize how it's going to be.
I think like really at the primary stage, at the seed of the idea was how to use this mixer, like the algorithm, to actually inject meaning into the images, because I felt that it was, whenever it was really used to create variety. It was used to create many variations, but the act itself of mixing did not inject meaning into the images. And then when we came up with the idea of mixed emotions, then we said, okay, so now we're using it for actually to create, we call it to claim humanity back from the machine. So we're using a machine to create something that is like uber human, because the pure souls, which are like maybe the rarest, definitely, because they're all like 5 assets of the same emotion, really do not exist in real life. And this project is about embracing the chaos of mixed emotions, conflicting emotions at the one moment, and embracing the disharmony. So I think like finding a reason and a meaning in the actual process of the scrambling was for me an aha moment.
Yeah. No, I love that. It's clear how much thought and intentionality went into designing the entire collection rather than just, oh, this is some nice art, we're going to blend it together. You really put intention into it. And I think it's come through again, looking at some of the outputs. They are, pop surrealism, that's a really great way of describing it. It's sort of like you said, there's these faces. I want to try and describe it, but like they'll have objects coming out of them. For instance, there's one that has like a human heart, and like that's love, or is it love? And stuff like that. It really makes you think way more than a bored ape. It's like, all right, it's an ape. It's with a funny hat and stuff. I think there's a lot more artistic creation, interpretation. Not that bored apes and other projects aren't art or artistic, but it's clear that there's more artistic vision that went into this project, which I think even on the website you describe it as a fine art PFP, or the first fine art PFP with the first pay what you want mint mechanic, which I really want to get into that as well, because I find that super interesting. So to give some context, the way that the mint worked is that people could mint and pay however much they wanted. They could mint for free, or they could pay 0.01 or pay 0.1 or pay 0.2. The last couple of months, we've seen a flurry of free mints come out where projects are minting for free. I'm curious, is this an idea that you had from really early on, that you wanted it to be pay what you want? Is this something you decided to do because of how the market is? Where did this idea come from, and how did it go?
I think it's really similar to the idea of using the generative algorithm to mix feelings to make sense. So we wanted each moment to have sense and to be part of the concept. So the minting could be a transaction. It could be like I'm buying something or I'm investing in something, but it could be also I'm connecting to something, or I'm feeling something, or I'm hesitating, I'm thinking. And I think that was the important part. So we decided that we're not going to do anything cookie cutter. We're not going to take, the existing platform and just inject our own drawings. We really want to use this as a platform for the project. So I don't think there's any. We have another few things that is going to happen in the near future that use the same concept. So it's the concept of feeling and connecting, and really trying to make the people involved in the community be part of this story. But I think the big twist of the pay what you feel is that we didn't expect exactly that. And then it's sort of, we became actually part of the story also. And that's okay. That's part of the experience. But it was really, really outcome. It was surprising.
Just wanted to say that it was kind of like we worked on it in like a dark cave for months and months and months, really for a year, if I'm being honest. And like the story that we wrote needed the last chapter. It needed like this one final twist, and that final twist had to be written by the community. It had to be something that the person on the other end does. Like, we couldn't do it at this point because our job is at least for the first chapter is done. And I think if we're trying to use this new medium, if you think about NFTs as a medium, you have to kind of use commerce and use minting and use drops and use all these tools to tell a story and to create feeling and to create experience. So it was kind of like a perfect way to wrap it. Like, wrap chapter one is give the minter, the holder, the collector, give him some kind of like, chaos that he has to handle. Make a choice,
Yeah, no, it involves the community in the story, in the narrative, in the decisions, which is one of the just the most powerful things about this. Again, it's that relationship between creator and the community. You can really play with it and do fun things. I'm curious to know what the community reaction was. Was it? I imagine it was fairly supportive, like, because it's new, because it's different, and because it gives the power back to the minters. People would have appreciated that. And then, did you have any expectations or ideas of sort of, there was 7,401, I think, or 7,400-ish mints. In terms of, did you have like a number in mind where you think, oh, we think it's gonna, like, this is the amount of ETH that people are gonna mint, or like, did you try not to think about that? And did your expectations really met under, over, anything like that? That if you feel comfortable sharing.
It, yeah, of course. I'm going to share something a bit more intimate. That I had a conversation with my mother, and I explained the mechanics and the concept and everything, and she said, like, and she was a bit confused, and she was, so they can also pay zero. And I said, yeah,
Yeah.
it's what they pay. And then she said, maybe put a minimum, like maybe there's a minimum, like maybe 1 5 or something. And I said, yeah, but then if you put a minimum price, then it's not really what you feel. It's like someone kind of giving you a hint. And we want to create an experience, so it has to be, all the way. It has to be zero or everything. And then she was confused, and I asked her, if you were there, what would you do? And she just looked at me like, and I think what she thought is that she's not, I mean, maybe zero is okay. I mean, if it's okay, then, and of course we knew that. And I think the community was confused at the beginning. And that was for us great. It was fantastic, because this confusion is the moment you become aware of the things you were doing automatically. So suddenly it's like a moment, there's a hesitation, and then it's okay. I think most of the people paid zero, and some very kind people paid more, and that was great. That was very encouraging. But it's, no hard feelings. It wasn't about that. We knew it was a possible scenario, and we were prepared in a way. Still, it was super, exciting, and we didn't know exactly how it's going to go. But the fact that it created a conversation, that there was, and that's better than, I think, like a super paid mean, that we had this cultural moment, and we know that, it's the next step, and we can continue for our next thing, the next twist in the plot. Then that was something that I'm really happy we achieved.
Yeah.
It was amazing to see how strong the market is. Like, there's market forces, and if market forces dictate that that is the right choice, because people want to maximize their investment, obviously, so they would get in at the lower possible point. But then there's also market forces who kind of bought off, these people, and like kind of weeded out people that just did it for like a very small fee. So I think there was something kind of, for me, uh, it was kind of, there's something clean and honest about seeing how the market works both ways.
Yeah, it's a fascinating element of this space where the secondary market, there's only so much you can do, the creators, and once it's out there, then the market decides sort of what something is quote unquote worth. And very quickly, it was up at around the 0.1 ETH price point. I think it went way higher, like 0.2, or maybe even 0.3 at one point. And clearly there were people excited by the project and happy to pay that amount. And yeah, it's just a really interesting experiment, and I'm really glad that you did it, because as an outside observer, I missed the mint. I just wasn't able to sort of be on top of it, but I bought on secondary, because I love them, and I think a lot of people probably appreciated the experiment more than anything. So I think it's just a fun thing to have done. I'm curious to see if it will take off, and we'll see other projects adopt it. I think it's not for everyone, for sure. Like it seems like it made a lot of sense for your project with the narrative and the story that you're trying to tell, and that relationship. Yeah. So just very, very thrilled to see that you did it. I'd be curious to know. You sort of mentioned chapter 1, and that this was sort of a nice way to end that. What's next? What do you have planned? I noticed on the website you talk about a Moodieverse, and there's clearly there's more to come, or you have plans to build out this universe. What does that look like, and where do you see this going in the short term, but also over like 3 years, 5 years?
I think that the website has a lot of clues. So a lot of things that we already have been working on it. So it's not that we have plans. It's more like now it's time for execution. But we already have the collaboration, and we have tons of conversation with people, and I'm afraid to say something that will ruin the twist. So I just
Please
going to
don't.
say
Yes.
it's it's like near signing, so it's like the production is very advanced. But I would say that in general there are two branches. There's the artistic branch, and which is this experiment of evoking emotion through pop surrealism and interaction with the community. So the people involved in the project, the people on Discord, the people who are holders, uh, there's stuff to be done, and so that's one thing. And the other branch is the narrative branch, which is developing a more traditional narrative, but we want to use everything that exists in NFT space to tell that story in the most effective way. So all the classic stuff like airdrops and other technology that you can use, code. But really, I'm trying not to say too much, and it's very hard. Tomer, take it from here.
Well, I can say that next week we have something that has to do with tsunami. We have a very, very big announcement that has to do with the great Moody and the kind of the bigger story world of the Moodies. This is a deal that we've been working on for 5 months. And there is another thing that has to do with prints, but I can't be more specific than that. Um, we've been doing this for, like I said, almost a year, and we are in it for the long haul. I mean, we have a lot of big plans, and we have kind of the ability to draw. I mean, we want to do what we've done for like clients, to do it in this brand and kind of expand the narrative world, the artistic world of the Moodies. So we're 100%, you know, um, working in all directions, and we have some incredible collaborators. I think the next 6 months are going to be very, very, very interesting.
Super exciting. Yeah, I mean, it is super clear that given all your experience over the last 10, 20 years, you have this network and ability to sort of make those connections and deals and partnerships and collabs, and also the knowledge of how to build out your story yourselves and create the pieces, because you've been doing it for other people and now you're doing it for yourself, which is again one of the most powerful things about this. I wanna take a little bit of a pivot and ask a couple of questions about the two of you personally, rather than Moody's itself, just to get to know you a bit better. And maybe I'd be curious to know what are some of your favorite books and or comics that maybe you drew inspiration from, or that you just really really like. Yeah, maybe yeah.
I'm reading a lot of philosophy, so I think I wrote. I think I read Nietzsche. That was the last one. No, I read Michel Onfray. It's French philosopher, contemporary, and he wrote a book about. It's called in English something like um, "The Way to Live a French Life." It's like this glorious essay about why the French are the best, and it was really interesting.
It sounds like something a Frenchman
And
or a French person would write.
completely. But no, it's really nice because I really love the way. This is what I love about philosophy. It's like you read something that someone ancient, wrote
Hmm.
hundreds of years ago, and you see it happening in pop culture, and you see it happening in science fiction, and all these dots are connected, and it's really like the same
Hmm.
story happening again. And sometimes I see in my work these ideas. So I think philosophy is a great tool for connecting ideas and understanding bigger cultural context. So that's my nerdy side. But obviously, I read also a lot of comics. And what was the last comics I read? I don't remember. But I think that the authors that really influenced me is the French science fiction artist Jean Giraud, Mobius. And he was like very strong in the 70s and 80s because they did this revolution where science fiction was used to be something, like a second best, like a B movie, and then suddenly it became literature and something that was really appreciated. And films like Blade Runner that was inspired by his work. So I really love pop culture. I love stuff that communicates very easily, but has this back end of literature and more deep ideas. So definitely him and Otomo, who is the Japanese manga artist who did Akira. And I always think, why do we love Akira so much? Because in my house, Akira, it's like the Bible. Every few days, I take a book of Akira, I look through it, and why I'm so obsessed about it. And I think the idea of there's this character Tetsu, and his hand becomes like very very big, and it's like an amazing visual metaphor for the fact that in the end, too much power is something that will corrupt you. It's something that will make you evil. But you read it, it's like, I don't know, thousands of pages, and cities are destroyed, and it's like it's endless. So I really love all the. I think it really exists a lot in comics, where something very sensual and visual and physical is actually a pathway to deep ideas and storytelling.
That's a great response. Do you have a favorite philosopher? I mean, I'm a big fan of philosophy myself. Just curious. It's a tough question.
I think Nietzsche.
Yeah.
I'll stick with Nietzsche is the one, but also this last one I read, Michel Onfray, is more like a historian of philosophy. But what he says about contemporary society, my only problem is he has this fight with Elon Musk because he thinks that, well, let's not get into it. But
All right.
like he hasn't.
Yeah, we can not bring Elon up. All right, last question before we wrap up. Which honestly, I love this. I could chat to you for hours and hours, but let's. I want to ask about NFT artists. Are there any artists out there that you've really loved and appreciated over the last year in the space that their work either inspired you or Moodies, or just is totally different, but you really appreciate and resonate?
I feel that we were too long in a cave and not really.
That's very fair.
We're not really able to, explore it because we also have family and kids, all this mess. So when we had time, for me it was like mostly nights, weekends, and just like working on the Moodies full time. But I see a lot of stuff that I love, and actually more and more. I think there is evolution. I can clearly say that there is a niche for cute stuff, cute, colorful stuff. There's a niche for cool, like the cool skaters, cool guys, good looking. There's a niche for destroy, like dark, destroy, senseless. And I don't know where we are, in this palette of. I'm not sure where we fit in these different genres. But we will find our place.
Yeah, absolutely. Even over the last 12 months, I think there's been this massive evolution or just explosion of creativity that's entered the scene, because early on there just weren't that many artists or creators, and then as time's gone on, people are doing more and more and innovating as well, and getting creative with what's possible. Including sort of on-chain elements and randomness and composability with other projects, and a lot of really fun stuff. And I mean, one thing I'll say about Moodies is it's unlike any other project, or especially which is difficult to do, but it's very clearly unique and special. You work so hard, and then you put it out there for it's really just just generous, and like this experiment where it's like, people pay what you feel, and I think that's just a lovely thing. All right,
I would say that when someone, I would just say just small note that someone like you, the fact that you were supporting the project, that was very very important for us. I think that was like a great moment, because it's like it feels like there's someone on the other side, and someone understands and accepts and is interested. So thank you. We appreciate it.
No, I am so happy and proud to support and collect. I like, from the moment I heard about the project, and it didn't come on my radar until relatively late, but I looked at the website and I was like, immediately, oh, this is different. And like, there's times when that happens, and it's just such a wonderful feeling, because I can just be like, oh, it's like I get childlike feelings, just like excitement. It's like, this is fun and exciting, and I get to explore this whole new world and universe and collect, and then there's a reveal, and after this I'm going to go back and look at the ones I have and see what they reveal to be, because I had a very quick look before we jumped on, but they it's just an hour ago that they revealed, so I'm really excited for that. And yeah, it's such a fun time, and I'm really excited for what's more to come. All right, for wrapping up, if anyone, like, where's the best place for people to find out more? Like, if someone's interested, maybe they want to learn more about either of the two of you or Moody's, is there, like, do you like to direct people to the website, Discord? Is there a particular place, your Twitters? We'll have all the links below, but where do you like to engage people the most?
I think first of all, the Twitter. The Twitter is like the main station, but Discord as well. We have a very active Discord, and the moderators are great, and there's lots of announcements. And I think some of the interactions will be on Discord. So Twitter and Discord of the Moodies. And I'm mostly, for my work, on Twitter as well. I do have an Instagram and Facebook, but I'm really on Twitter all the time. And there's the Moodies website, which has a lot of clues, and I would say you could get an idea of where it's going from the Moodies website. So that's a great place to get some info.
Amazing. And actually, one thing we didn't touch on yet, but I think it's important to, is there's some other people helping you on the team that we didn't really get a chance to get to, but maybe do you want to you mentioned the moderators in the Discord, but who else is working on the project that has made this become what it is?
Yeah, we have two great partners. One of them is Sami, and the other one is Leon. And both of them are friends with which we did art shows for, I don't know, at least 5 years. So every year or two, we work on a show together, and each one of us, because they are also artists, each one of us kind of work on his own thing, and then we do a big party. And then I think and we always plan it when we're drunk at Sami's basement. So one time we said, so
ideas.
Let's do another show. And then we said, but maybe with this new thing with NFTs, and then we started looking and trying, can we do a show combined with NFTs, and and then it just developed and it became serious. But these are really this is the core team. This is where everything started.
Fantastic. Sounds like a wonderful team. All right. Thank you both so much. I can't thank you both enough for taking the time to be here and sharing this space with me. And like I said, I could chat to you for hours and hours, and I would love to have you back on sometime in the future, just to check in, see what's up, maybe talk books, maybe talk philosophy, something else in the future. Yeah. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it was so fun. Thank you so much.